Okay, everybody, I want you to think about something for a second. You're holding a device in your hand right now that has more computing power than the machines that put people on the moon, that can access the entire sum of human knowledge in milliseconds, that has cameras more powerful than professional equipment from just a decade ago. And what are we using these devices for? We're tapping on little icons. We're swiping through screens. We're typing on a glass keyboard. We are living in the stone age of what this device is actually capable of doing. The smartphone as we know it is about to completely transform into something that we've only seen in science fiction movies. We're talking about a device that you literally just speak to it and it does whatever you want it to do. You don't tap on apps anymore. You don't navigate through menus. You don't search for information. You just talk to an AI that knows you better than you know yourself, that has access to everything on your device, every text message, every email, every photo, every calendar event, every note you've ever written. And that AI will use all that data of you to actually make your life dramatically easier in ways that we haven't even begun to scratch the surface of. What's happening here is a transition from what we have now, which is basically a portable computer with a bunch of separate apps that don't really talk to each other, to a unified AI interface that treats your entire digital life as one connected system. Your phone becomes less of a device that you interact with and more of an intelligent assistant that knows what you need before you even know that you need it. Basically what Siri was supposed to be from the very beginning, but actually real. Think about what you do with your phone today. You wake up in the morning, you check your calendar, you check your email, you check your text messages, you maybe look at the weather, maybe look at social media, maybe OnlyFans for you freaking perverts out there. You might respond to a few things. That's like 15 different tabs and swipes across multiple apps just to get oriented for your day, just to get yourself like settled in. But if you think about an AI-powered phone, that phone will just tell you everything you need to know from the second you get up. Hey, so you have 3 meetings today. The first one's at 10 a.m. with John about the Q4 projections. Traffic's looking kind of heavy, so you should probably leave by 9:30. It's going to rain this afternoon, so maybe bring an umbrella. And by the way, there are 3 emails that need your attention before the first meeting. Let me know if you want me to book that robotaxi for you so it's there by 9:30, and if you want me to take care of those emails on your behalf. And I can check in with you if something isn't obvious to me, the AI. All of that will happen through a conversation. You don't have to open an app anymore. You didn't have to type anything. The AI just knows what's relevant to you from all the data that already exists on your device that presents it to you in a way that's actually useful. Now that sounds nice, but it's really just scratching the surface of what becomes possible when you have an AI layer that sits on top of everything you do on your device. The real transformation happens when this AI can actually execute tasks for you. Your wife texts you saying that she needs someone to come fix the broken fence as an example. Normally you have to stop what you're doing, search for a contractor, call a few places, explain the problem, get some crazy quotes that you're like, how is this even possible? And then when you land on one, you schedule a time. That's like 30 minutes of work, an hour of work, depending where you live. But with an AI powered phone, it's just something like, hey, can you handle getting that fence fixed for me? And it goes and finds the contractors in your area, reaches out to them, explaining the issue. It gets the quotes, checks your calendar to find a time that works. And then the AI will come back and say, hey, I found 3 contractors. Here are the quotes. And would you like me to schedule the one with the best rating as an example? And is it okay if it comes at 2 p.m. on Thursday? You just say yes. That entire process happened without you lifting a finger. Or even crazier, as the AI learns your behavior and your preferences over time, you can let it do tasks on your behalf altogether. Let's say in the next few years, there's an AI-powered lawnmower or something that notices issues with your fence as it's sort of mowing the lawn. That lawnmower can be hooked up to the AI brain of your house, and it will send a signal to your assistant, to your AI assistant, that there's probably something wrong with this specific piece of the fence, let's say. It can then grab the images from the lawnmower, process them, and bring it to your attention without you ever having to step outside. And if you really trust the system, you can just have it automatically book all that stuff on your behalf without you ever having to think about it. You can even give it a monthly budget for, let's say, repairs, and it will figure out the most efficient way to deploy that cash through the house or maybe outside. Now multiply that across every single thing you do on your phone every single day. Booking travel, ordering food, managing appointments, paying bills, shopping for things you need, following up on emails, coordinating with people. All of that becomes conversational. You stop being the person who has to manually navigate through dozens of apps and websites and forms. The AI handles all of that infrastructure while you just tell it what you want to happen. And this might sound like a really far off future, but we're actually extremely close to this becoming actually real. The technology is basically already there. Companies like OpenAI with ChatGPT, Anthropic with Claude, Google with Gemini, xAI with Grok, they all have AI models that can understand natural language at a level that's honestly kind of scary. These models can read text, understand context, make logical connections, and they can actually interact with software systems to execute tasks. A lot of you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm assuming a lot of you use these services every single day. But what's been missing is the integration. The AI needs to be built directly into the operating system of your phone so it can actually access everything and do things on your behalf. Apple announced earlier this year that they're working on exactly this with their Apple Intelligence system. They're rebuilding iOS from the ground up, or so they say, thank God, to have AI capabilities baked into every part of the operating system. Google is doing the same exact thing with Android through their Gemini integration. These companies are all racing to be the first to ship a phone where the AI is the primary interface instead of apps. And so the timeline for when this actually becomes mainstream is probably 2026, probably 2027 at the latest. And that's when Apple is going to ship, let's say, iOS 19 or whatever they call it. And when you set up your new iPhone, you're going to train the AI on your voice, similar to Siri, but probably a little bit more advanced, give it access to all your data. And from that point forward, you're going to interact with your phone in a completely different way than you would normally do today. And obviously, there's a massive question that needs to be answered about all of this, which is privacy. If you're given an AI access to literally everything on your device, all your text messages, all your emails, all your photos, your location history, your search history, everything, you need to trust that this data is actually being kept private and not being used by the company to train their models or sell your information or do anything else with it. It's interesting to think about this because this is where Apple probably has an advantage over Google. Apple's entire business model is selling you hardware. They make money when you buy an iPhone, when you buy a MacBook, when you buy AirPods. They don't make money from advertising per se. They don't make money from selling your data. Their incentive is to keep your information as private as possible, or so we hope, so you trust them enough to keep buying their products. Google's entire business model is much more centered around advertising. They need your data to target ads. That creates a fundamental conflict, potentially, when you're talking about an AI that has access to everything about you. Now, Apple has been extremely vocal about privacy being a core value of their company. This is one of their biggest selling points. They've built end-to-end encryption into iMessages. They've created systems where your face data for Face ID, as an example, never leaves your device, or so Apple says. They've made it so apps have to ask for permission before accessing your location or your photos. You all know that pop-up I'm talking about on your iPhone. That makes them the most logical company to actually pull off this AI-powered device concept in a way where people will actually trust it enough to use it, in theory. However, I will not rule out Android whatsoever. Google has the best AI model right now with Gemini 3, and if their advancements continue, they're likely to be the best platform for this entire AI thing. If you really think about Apple's position here, though, they are uniquely positioned to do this because they have 1 billion people already using iPhones. They have decades of data for each individual user stored privately on iCloud. All of your text messages going back years. All of your photos organized and tagged. All of your emails searchable and categorized. All of your app usage data, all of your health data if you have an Apple Watch. This is an absolutely enormous treasure trove of personalized information that can be used to train an AI that knows you specifically, that understands your habits, your preferences, your routines, your relationships, your work, your hobbies, everything. But again, Google has the same exact thing on their Android platform, on Chrome, and all the other Google services. An AI that's trained on your personal data is going to be orders of magnitude more useful than a generic AI that everyone uses. If you just use ChatGPT or Grok or Claude, it doesn't know anything about you outside of what you talk to it about, at least for right now. Every time you ask it something, you have to provide context. You have to explain who you are, what you're working on, what you need help with. An AI that lives on your phone and has been trained on all of your data already knows all of that. You can just ask it questions or tell it to do things, and it has the full context of your entire digital life to work with. This is what people mean when they talk about digital twins. You're essentially creating an AI copy of yourself that knows everything you know, that can make decisions the way you would make them, that can interact with the world on your behalf because it understands you at a deep level. That digital twin lives on your phone or in the cloud, and it becomes the interface through which you interact with everything. You stop thinking about your phone as a collection of apps and start thinking about it as an extension of yourself. Now, if you're tracking these trends closely and you want to stay ahead of what's coming in the AI and tech world, you should check out Farzad.fm. I've built an exclusive community where we dive deep into these technological shifts before they hit the mainstream. You get access to analysis, discussions, exclusive content, exclusive insights, and everything from AI development to robotics to space technology. I would like to think this is where people who understand that we're living through a massive transformation come and stay informed. Go to farza.fm and join the community. I'll have links for that in the description below. Now, one of the most important implications of this transition to AI-powered phones is what it means for the app ecosystem. Right now, your phone is basically a launcher for apps. Every single thing you want to do requires opening an app. Want to order food? Open DoorDash or Uber Eats. Want to book a flight? Open an airline app or a travel booking app. You want to message someone? Open up iMessage or WhatsApp or whatever. The app is the interface. When AI becomes the primary interface, a lot of these apps stop being necessary in theory. You don't need to open DoorDash to order your food. You just tell your AI, I want Thai food for dinner. And it handles everything in the background. It knows your favorite restaurants. It knows what you usually order. It checks if they're open. It places the order. It handles the payment through Apple Pay or Google Pay or whatever. And it tells you when it's going to arrive. The DoorDash app, the Uber Eats app, or whatever become infrastructure that the AI interacts with, not something you directly use. This is going to completely upend the app economy. Companies that built their entire business on having an app that you open and use directly are going to have to figure out how to stay relevant when the AI is doing all the work. Some of them will become services that AI systems call on in the background. Some of them will probably just disappear because the AI can do what they do without needing a specialized app. In theory, you could literally have an AI voice assistant call a restaurant directly and place the order on your behalf for delivery. They won't even need an app. The other massive shift is what this means for how we think about multitasking and productivity. Right now, doing multiple things on your phone is painful. You have to switch between apps. You have to copy and paste information. You have to jump back and forth, maybe between your computer and your phone and whatever. It's designed for you to do one thing at a time. And AI doesn't have that constraint. It can be doing 50 things simultaneously in the background while you're doing something completely different, either on your device or in real life. You could be in a meeting and your AI is handling your entire inbox, responding to the easy stuff, flagging the important things for your attention later, scheduling follow-up meetings, updating your task list, ordering lunch for later, rescheduling a conflict in your calendar, and checking flight prices for your upcoming trip. All of that is happening without you having to even think about it. You don't have to carve out a time later in the day for like a catch-up or something. The AI is already caught up. You only deal with the things that actually need your personal attention or things that you want to actually pay attention to. This fundamentally changes what it means to be productive. You stop spending time on administrative overhead and start spending time on the things that only you can do. The creative work, the strategic thinking, the relationship building. The AI handles everything else in theory. That's a completely different paradigm than what we have today, where most of our time is spent just managing information and tasks. Now, we're not going to flip a switch and all of a sudden everyone's going to have an AI-powered phone like next year. That's just not going to happen. This is probably going to be a gradual transition. Apple's going to release their first version of this probably, and it's going to be pretty limited. They'll be able to do some cool stuff, but it won't be the full version I'm describing here. That comes a little bit later. But then over the next few years, they're going to keep improving it, adding more capabilities, making it smarter, giving it access to more parts of the operating system. More and more people trust it. But at first, people are going to be skeptical. They're going to say, I don't want an AI reading all my freaking text messages. I don't want it in my OnlyFans account, okay? I don't trust this thing to handle my important things for me. I prefer doing things manually, and that's fine. I totally get that, and I respect the hell out of that. Early adopters are going to use it, though. They're going to see how much better it is, how much more efficient it makes them. And slowly, everyone else is going to come around to it because the productivity gains are going to be too big to ignore. This is what happens with most technologies. We saw the same exact thing with touchscreens when the iPhone first came out. People said, I need a physical keyboard. I need my BlackBerry. I don't want to type on glass. This is crazy. Why would I use my fingers, right? 5 years later, every phone had a touchscreen and physical keyboards were dead. That's what's going to happen with an AI interface. 5 years from now, you're going to look at someone manually opening apps and tapping through menus the way we look at someone using a freaking flip phone from 2000. It's going to seem incredibly outdated. It just comes down to something being better than the alternative. If it's better, people will use it. It's that simple. Now, the really wild thing about all of this is we're not even talking about what happens when this AI layer expands beyond just your phone. What happens when your car has the same AI? When it knows everywhere you drive, every errand you run, every place you stop? What happens when your home has this AI built into smart home systems and it knows your daily routines, when you wake up, when you go to sleep, what temperature you like? What lights do you prefer? What happens when you have a human or robot in your home that's connected to the same AI and it can physically interact with the world on your behalf. It gets really freaking weird. All of these devices become nodes in a network where your digital twin exists across everything. Your phone knows your digital life. Your car knows your physical movement patterns. Your home knows your living habits. Your robot can execute physical tasks. They're all connected through the same AI brain that knows you, and they all work together to make your life easier. That should be the goal, at least. That is the world we're heading towards in the next 10 to 15 years. It is going to happen. The smartphone as we know it today is basically in its final form. Apple releases a new Apple every year, and it's literally the same thing. The camera might be a little bit better, the processor is a little bit faster, the screen is a little bit brighter, a little bit more smooth. These are all incremental improvements on the same basic concept of a glass rectangle with a bunch of apps on it. That paradigm has been basically unchanged since 2007 when the first iPhone came out, that legendary Steve Jobs presentation. We're almost 20 years into this, and it's starting to feel stale. It has been for a while, honestly. What's coming next is the most significant transformation in personal computing since the smartphone itself, moving from apps as the primary interface to AI as the primary interface. That is going to change everything about how we interact with technology. It's going to change what kinds of things are possible. It's going to change how we think about productivity and time management. It's going to change the entire software industry, and it's all happening in the next couple years. The companies that figure out how to do this right are going to be the most valuable companies in the world. The companies that don't adapt are going to be left behind, just like any other technology cycle. We're watching the beginning of a massive shift in real time, and most people don't even realize how big this is going to be. And knowing that a lot of you that watch this channel are huge followers of AI companies like Tesla, like Nvidia, and hopefully like Apple. And if you're a Tesla investor with more than $2 million of Tesla stock, I've partnered with Rebellionaire to bring you something that could make a real difference in your portfolio. Rebellionaire is run by Bradford Ferguson and Matt Smith, two guys who genuinely understand the full scope of what Tesla is building. These guys are not just financial advisors who happen to have some Tesla clients. They live and breathe Tesla. In and out. I've seen it with my own two eyes. They've done cross-country FSD trips to truly understand the capability of the software. They've done deep research on the energy business, on manufacturing, on all the pieces that make up the Tesla story. The problem they're solving is simple. A lot of Tesla investors out there are working with financial partners who don't really believe in the long-term thesis of the company. They might think your Tesla position is too risky or too concentrated. They don't understand robotaxis. They don't understand Optimus. They don't get the synergies between Tesla and XAI and what all this means for the future. But Rebellionaire gets it. They can help you plan for your future while implementing strategies like covered calls and position management that could maximize the number of shares you have by the time Tesla reaches its full potential. So if you're tired of getting the cold shoulder from advisors who just don't understand the story, go to rebellionaire.com/Farzad, rebellionaire.com/Farzad, and that's how they'll know that I sent you. There will be links in the description and the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and drop a comment below letting me know what you think about AI-powered smartphones. Do you trust an AI to have access to all your data? Are you excited about this, or does it freak you out? I'm really curious to hear your thoughts. I really am, because this is where we're going. We'll see you on the next one, everybody. Bye-bye.